Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Friday How to Take Over the World session. My name is Mark. I'm hosting you for today. And just a reminder, the purpose of these sessions is to share what we're working on at the moment. It's always nice to see some of the familiar names on the attendees list as well. So by all means, if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat facility. Otherwise, there will be a playback available on the YouTube channel as well. Just a quick reminder of the purpose and the things that we work on. We work with entrepreneurial businesses aiming to tackle the twin challenges of access to finance and access to markets. Every Friday we come up with a tune to get you going, and this time we thought we would go with a South African song. So the guy by the name of Craig Lucas, it's called Happy. Won the Voice in 2017, studied politics and economics at UCT before doing an honors in finance. It's not our normal kind of rock and roll type, but for those who need a little bit of uplifting in South African talent, I thought it was quite cool. So enjoy that. Just in terms of what have we been working on this week, I just got the notification this morning. We helped a client secure in the digital consulting space, secure 250K in working capital for their business. It's actually been quite a good month from that side. It's, I think, the third business we've managed to help secure some working capital. So it is nice to see some of the entrepreneurs getting out there and raising some money for their businesses and looking at expansion finance. And I participated in the NPO Business Challenge 2022 with Momentum Metropolitan. And I don't know if you want to maybe just share a little bit about what was involved there.
Yes, I can. That was such a cool day. Sorry. So it was a skills-based volunteering day where people from the industry, it was mainly Momentum volunteers, and then For Good also has a platform for volunteers. So I want to actually invite everyone to go and have a look at the For Good website and see if you can't register yourself as a volunteer. So what they do is they invite people from the industry or their registered participants to go and give their time in like skill-based volunteering scenarios like yesterday. So there was 4 NPOs, each of them had a different challenge, and then we got together in teams and brainstormed ideas as to how they can overcome these challenges. Each NPO got 25,000 Rand, and then the winning NPO got 75,000 Rand. So that was really, really cool to see how they came together and like really just like the upliftment and the encouragement they got from the day. So we were fortunate. We lost to the winners. So I don't feel like a loser this morning. I actually feel like a winner. So our NPO that we consulted with was actually the one that won the 75,000 Rand. And it was amazing to see like the difference that it's going to make in their lives. So yeah, I also just want to say thank you for allowing me the time to go and do that. I don't think it's everyone, like you're not in a job where your boss says, please go give your time to help other people. So thank you for that.
Absolute pleasure. And I will just post the link to For Good. I think it's forgood.co. We just post into the chat when you get a moment. But yeah, it's good to get out there. And we actually did some work with Andy a while back, probably just when we kicked off. So he was the guy who founded the For Good platform. And it is a very cool thing. So if you want to go and connect with them and see what they are doing. Ams has got a busy week at the moment. She has just been briefed in to do a influencer marketing campaign for 10 influencers for Blossom Care Solutions. So 28th of May is World Menstrual Health Day, and obviously we do quite a lot of work with the guys from Blossom Care Solutions. They are looking to fund the placement of sanitary products for 10,000 young women for the year, which costs 240 Rand per lady. So they're going to be doing a big call to action there through 10 different influencers. So it's a big social campaign, but it's also a sustainable social impact project that we work on. So those orders will then get aggregated across the 6 different manufacturing sites. So challenges out there for SMEs, corporates, Individuals, if you want to fund a lady, you are welcome to do it. You can mail AMS on amber@Ntokozo. AMS, you can just place it into the chat facility so that people can also grab your email address if anybody wants any further information on it. But you'll see it'll be quite active on our social campaigns. AMS is also working on an influencer campaign with the guys from DBT. They're going to be looking at technology devices that that a number of healthcare influencers and healthcare professionals are looking at in their space at the moment. Jess has been doing some fantastic work in the space, in the design space. So if you watch our socials during the next couple of days, you will see some of the work that she's doing around Africa Month. But it really does, it makes such a difference when you have a nice look and feel to your content. So thanks, Jess. Sam did an HR and professional development workshop this week. Sam, I don't know if you want to maybe just kind of share a little bit, quick 2 minutes as to what was involved there and what you took away from it.
Hey, Mark. I didn't do that one. I'm doing the one next week. So I'll be sure to update you guys in the next status meeting.
Okay, then I take that
next
back.
Take Over the World meeting. Yeah, I didn't do the one this week.
Okay, cool, got it. So I'll take that one back then. Pretend that never happened. In terms of the success story, the guys from DefTouch they've just signed a deal with one of the telco companies. So this is one of the Adopt an SME clients that we were working with last week. Last year, sorry, and they have developed tech solutions for accessible communications for the deaf and or blind communities. They have set up a 3-person call center in conjunction with one of the telcos to basically allow people who are hearing impaired specifically to be able to interact for things like financial services, technical support. It's a lot of work is done online, but if you have no ability to communicate online, it basically excludes you from a big chunk of society. So that's quite exciting. This is an SME we've been working with for the last 12 months. So it's a nice little success story. The guys from the Exaro project has finally started to kick off, and just a quick update from yesterday, already 4 of the drivers have secured their learners licenses. They're obviously being trained to be scooter drivers, and they'll be doing last mile delivery. 4 of them have already secured their learners. And, again, talking social impact, social mobility, where you have the ability to pick up to learn to drive, learning not only to drive, but also to be able to then go and secure a job out of that, has multiple impact across the, in terms of somebody's life. So I think that's quite a cool success story to look at as well. Next week, we are presenting at the Sharks. Jess and myself are doing a marketing 101 and social media thing at the Sharks Business Rugby Centre. So we're looking forward to that. It's a project that the guys from SME.tax have been working on specifically. We're looking forward to meeting people. It was nice to exchange ideas. The SME.tax Rosebank franchise is going live in 2 weeks' time. So if you know of any businesses, Randburg, Boscrane, Rosebank, Rivonia, etc., that's looking for accounting services, we've got a full-blown franchise that will be going live there. Big lessons from the previous week: the importance of consistency and small wins. We're starting to get a number of inbound inquiries from these sessions, but the Meet the Management sessions as well. It's a case of being consistent and doing the same thing right over and over again, rather than looking at big, grandiose ideas. Second one, get out from behind your computer. Email is not work, and build your network. I think, just listening to Anae's story, it's such a difference when you can get out there and actually talk to real people and share a bit about what you're experiencing. I think we often build this idea that email and responding to email is work. It's actually not, believe it or not. Just some of the things that we are working on, watching this week. So one of the projects I've been looking at, it involves 3 different corporates, but effectively corporates are now looking to integrate their youth employment initiatives with carbon credit offsets. So very simply, a number of companies in the US and Europe have to try and offset their carbon footprint. And basically what they are saying is they will fund the youth in South Africa to do eco-friendly projects and ultimately claim carbon credits for that. It's a big global market, so anyone who's interested in that can go and read up on the carbon credit market. More than $200 billion was wiped off crypto markets on Wednesday. Crypto markets across the world have had a huge sell-off. Discam, if you're a Discam client, 3.6 million customer details were leaked and exposed, and this is just kind of a reminder to all of us that handling data is something that we need to make sure that we have systems in place for it. It's a consumer, so you can see a lot of the consumer data is coming out now. December payment holidays was actually something I hadn't even thought about up until I read this yesterday. But a number of the kind of credit lenders and that kind of thing had been issuing December payment holidays, letting you go for the first 3 months of the year where you weren't having to make any repayments. And suddenly the payments are now due, and there's been a big spike in unsecured loans as the consumers are coming back under pressure and having to pay their bills. Just a reminder, average take-home salary in South Africa in March is 14,969 Rand. So that takes everybody who is currently employed in South Africa divided by what they earn, and that is the average salary in South Africa at the moment. And then fun one is just because I find this bizarre but interesting. A lot of people talking about Crocs. So, those dodgy looking shoes, they reckon they are one of the best value for money investment opportunities in the US at the moment in terms of investing Crocs, the company. Fun fact, I think they sell about $3.5 billion a year worth of those Crocs shoes. So interesting thing, you can go and read up on it. I'll post it onto the social media as well, but just something fun to think about during your weekend reading. I'm going to stop there. Ntokozo, you're going to go up first?
Sure, I don't mind. If you could give permission to share to the Ntokozo with image.
You should be good.
Everybody can see that.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Ntokozo, and today I will be speaking on the changing face of PR, which a lot of my observation informed with a recent drive down to the garden route. And that really kind of, also sparked my brain a little bit on being in the industry and how keeping part or keeping on top of the changing face of PR is important. So I think just to kick it off at the top, to remind ourselves what public relations is, it's obviously the practice of managing and distributing information for an individual or an organization. And the point of this activity is to obviously kind of control the narrative or how the public perceives you. Now, although the function is, controlled internally, the function of public relations in terms of the kind of content that you create, its results, which is the publicity of it or the reputation management of it, that is not always able to be internally controlled and is contributed to by external parties. So the evolution of the public relations industry over the last 25 years or so has really been fast-paced by digital technology. We've really seen that move from a more traditional offline visibility and one-way communication funnels, to public relations really taking different form over the years. So it's not only limited to million-dollar companies, but the entrepreneurs and small businesses could also really benefit and scale their businesses because of PR. And I think this point is especially important for us as a niche consultancy that deals with access to markets, where public relations is not only a function of, say, the public relations or the content creation departments, but being a niche consultant means that public relations is a function that each and every one of us plays in some form or the other. And for me, this was proven going through down the garden route that is known for more the smaller towns, but how those small guys were able to network with each other. They were able to use traditional public relation tools such as word of mouth, and a lot of them saying that how COVID-19 really shifted how they approach public relations, getting their name and their brands out there. So some of those future trends and observations in having conversations with the guy that you see in the image, who's a captain of a small run, family-owned, boat ride business out in Mosel Bay, is that data analytics continue to take center stage for PR strategies. And often when we think of data and analytics, we thinking of tools or apps that we can use, but sometimes conversations also helps you get that data that you might miss in some of the more technology-driven tools that allow you to collect that data analytics. Diversity and inclusion also reign supreme for PR, but there's also room for personalized PR pitches. A lot of the places that we went to were no longer running after the let us get a lot of numbers in, but let us get, even if it's a few a day, but it will be a few quality people that walk through our doors that are likely going to spread the word to another few quality people if we give them that quality experience that they will remember. So it's not always about the communication reaching a whole lot of numbers, but it's now saying even if it reaches a few, it's a few that will take that information or will take that content and actually do something about it. And influencer marketing, it is still the thing, but we are seeing a strong move to a more real and more realistic way of kind of marketing and PRing, especially post-pandemic. Throughout the world, people are struggling. People are, struggling to just make it through to end of the month. We've seen figures of people being indebted and the income that people are wanting, or the income that people are making. So the messages that people are really looking for now is more messages of, how is this taking me forward? How am I getting better as a person? How is this better for my country? How is this taking us forward? So it is striking that balance between saying, I am influencing you to aspire, but I am saying that where you are as well does make a difference. And again, this goes back to some of the small business owners that we met who end up owning and diversifying their businesses into more than one branch. And I think what I learned as a PR practitioner is that your role goes beyond understanding kind of the glitz or the glamour, or how to put the glitz and glamour onto a brand. But it's really understanding the goals and the vision of even that said business person and that entrepreneur. What kind of story are they trying to tell? What kind of narrative do they want to tell the people in their audience that you are then created that content for or engaging with? And then it kind of takes me back to taking it back to basics. I think one of the other things that definitely the COVID pandemic might have done is conflate a lot of issues that we need to just take back to simplicity. You feel as if you need to do something great and grand to be seen and for your brands to be noticed. But the power of emotional PR and content creation still plays a big role. A lot of the places we went to, it was the narrative and the story behind where we were that made that connection. Us being able to relate to those stories and find those similarities ourselves. Finding that everyone can be an influencer, even yourself. You don't have to take the ones that have the glossiest of pictures on Instagram, but it's people who are able to authentically tell a narrative and tell a story that is in line with the brand that you are representing. And creative marketing mixes. So marketing mixes like things like word to mouth, which are often forgotten because of technology. But for some businesses and for some brands, especially when we do actually get ourselves out there, network, those creative marketing mixes are still worth giving a go and still trying. And networking with purposes or with purpose. I've realized that going into events, but you are not really making those engagements with people doesn't really take you that far. Whereas I went somewhere and I had conversations with people over a couple of glasses of wine, and that still counts as networking because somewhere the conversation does go back to, oh, so what do you do? That's interesting. Where can I get your contacts? Where can I find you? So I think that is always important to remember at the back of your mind to network with purpose. And in a nutshell, those were my observations. I'd like everyone to just quickly take a look at the video that I'm about to play. Take a look and tell me quickly if there's anything that you noticed and how that lines up to PR. Anyone have any ideas on what you might have noticed as the image went across?
I feel like there was a change in color, but I'm not sure if I didn't pay proper attention.
You're correct. You absolutely are. There was that change of color. It was just before sunrise. And I found that interesting because just panning across the same area, there was a very distinct change in color. I didn't change filters or anything. It was naturally like that. And for me, I think the takeaway for that is that public relations is supposed to be about communication. It is supposed to be about communicating a certain narrative that is, and with us being supportive of SMEs and of entrepreneurs, most likely that narrative that we are telling that story of is something that is going to be positive for the economy and for people. So public relations is not something that is supposed to create a non-existing image, but public relations is something that's supposed to say, even where there is risk, even if there is some reputation we need to manage, it's all still part of the picture. We just find a way to represent the picture well. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. So I've got a couple of comments there. So just in the chat facility, something you guys might find interesting. Every year they put this out, but it's what happens in an internet minute. So they basically look at all of the different social media platforms, but I'm just going to pick a couple here. Twitter users post 575,000 times. Instagram users share 65,000 photos. Let's see what else is there. Google conducts 5.7 million searches. Amazon $283,000 per minute gets spent on Amazon. Slack users send 148,000 messages. Zoom hosts 856 minutes of webinars. Teams conduct 100,000 users. And that is in a single internet minute. So there's a whole lot of noise out there. And I think that, this whole concept of PR, obviously a lot of the traditional channels have changed. And one of the big challenges you have out there is how do you become relevant? How do you stay relevant? And how do you connect with people? And again, I just bring it back to the point we made earlier. A lot of PR actually happens, and a lot of the kind of business benefits actually happen when you get out from behind your screen rather than trying to compete with all the noise from all the other SMEs, trying to post content, and people spend an inordinate amount of time on the internet trying to be heard and be seen. But it's a lot of the actual business happens offline, face to face, and through relationships. Anybody else got any comments?
I also feel that bit that you said about like you have to engage or you wanting to engage, I think it also fits in with what Mark is saying. But if you see a connection but you don't make the connection, it's as if that connection never happened. So yeah, thanks for that reminder, Ntokozo.
Yeah, and so I encourage you guys. I mean, just a lot of it is going to be getting out there and actually talking to people. Network, net worth. We repeat this over and over again, but it really is important. Is anybody else got any comments before we jump to Amber? Cool, then Ambs, you're up.
I'm just sharing my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So, oh, sorry, just give me a moment. So, good morning, team, and good morning to our guests. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Amber, and my role here at Ntokozo includes managing clients' social media accounts, campaign management, and as well as content creation. So my presentation this morning is about revenge sleep procrastination, which is also known as revenge bedtime procrastination. So imagine the house is quiet, the kids are asleep, the emails have finally stopped flowing in. It's 1 a.m. in the morning, and you know you have to get up in just a few hours to start another hectic day. But instead, you hit play on the next episode of your new favorite Netflix show anyway. If this sounds like you, then you know definitely what revenge sleep procrastination is. So simply put, revenge sleep procrastination is putting off sleep to make up for leisure time, for the lack of leisure time during the day. So it's not a diagnosable condition per se, but many sleep specialists and psychologists have reported working with patients who grapple with revenge sleep procrastination, and it's occurring more and more according to research. So the term bedtime procrastination comes from an article published in the journal Frontiers of Psychology in 2014, which researchers define as failing to go to bed at the intended time while there are no external circumstances preventing a person from doing so. And so the word revenge cropped up as a nod to the 12-hour-a-day, 6-day-a-week work schedule that some workers in China face and the efforts to take control over their free time by intentionally staying up late. But this wasn't until 2020 when it went viral, when journalist Stephanie Kay tweeted about it, calling it a phenomenon in which people who do not have much control over their daytime life refuse to sleep early in order to regain some sense of freedom during late night hours. And the post has, up till today, racked up more than 263,000 likes. So it just kind of sparked some interest when I saw the phenomenon of revenge sleep procrastination. So revenge sleep procrastination is more than just staying up late or that someone tries to sleep but cannot. It's when someone is fully aware that their actions will delay sleep and they'll experience negative effects, but they do it anyway. So we live in a sleep-deprived society with many adults not getting the recommended 7 to 9 hours of shut-eye nights. And so staying up too late every once in a while is not something to worry about. But if revenge bedtime procrastination is a habit, it could be harmful to one's health. And we all know that not getting enough sleep long-term can lead to a number of physical and mental conditions, such as the ones mentioned in this slide. So tips on how to fight, or if you're already doing this, avoid revenge sleep procrastination. Since a busy schedule is often the root of revenge bedtime procrastination, it is best to start by assessing your schedule, cutting down on some of the things that aren't important or that are eating up all of your time. You are less likely to feel the need to avenge your loss of time if you don't feel resentful of losing those precious hours of your day. And then carve out time for yourself. Since you're cutting things out, it is important to replace them with things that you enjoy doing so that you don't feel like your time is being wasted or that you're not enjoying your time. Cut out things that you're not enjoying. This may not always be easy, especially for parents or professionals who don't really have the ability to step away from their obligations and their responsibilities. And so this one is also not as easy, especially in today's world, but putting away your phone or your gadgets or switching off your TV should be a part of your bedtime routine. Because when you do, you won't be tempted to check Instagram one last time and then you end up scrolling for hours. And our devices work just as hard as we do during the day, and most of the times even harder than us. So they also need some rest. And then last tip is to create a mini bedtime ritual by engaging in anything that will help you wind down and relax. This could be anything from reading, brushing your teeth, doing your skincare routine. For me, it's always brushing my teeth and doing my skincare routine. Relaxing before bedtime serves as a strong signal to the mind and the body and helps one fall asleep easier. So in conclusion, revenge sleep procrastination can be a tough habit to break out of once you've fallen into it. It might only be after feeling utterly exhausted for a few days that you feel compelled to give up those late night delays in sleep to get some quality shut-eye. But the behavior is ultimately motivated by feeling that you don't have control over your time during the day. Reassessing how you spend your time each day is often the first step towards overcoming bedtime procrastination. And I think this relates a lot to us working people, because we may be so busy sometimes that we feel like we don't have control over our time. And then when it's time to go to bed, you're like, maybe just have a little me time, knowing that it's not good. But yeah, thank you, team. That's it for me this morning.
Thanks, Em. That's awesome. And I think this is such this topic is so important on so many levels. That's why I always love doing these sessions. It's just people seeing things from different perspectives. But I mean, you and I were chatting about when we look at that content for DBT, and I mean, it's in the US this month. I think it's World Mental Health Awareness Month, and I mean, just looking at some of the facts that are coming out of there, and then also some of the stats in South Africa. I mean, the reality is South African workforce, South African adults, young adults, anybody that's being measured at the moment is under enormous mental strain. I think the impact of COVID and those lockdowns is only really starting to emerge now. And the reality is you're too scared to take leave because you are worried about your job. You are stressed out of your mind, so you're not sleeping. And all of these things add up. And I think the investment in actual, just in kind of looking after yourself. You can't perform if you don't look after yourself. I mean, I'm not a great sleeper, but then I'm old, so I don't totally count. But the the reality is you don't end up looking after yourself, and you end up in a situation where you can't do the work that you need to actually do. So yeah, I mean, I think a good presentation, an important presentation. Anybody else got any comments? I think Paula's got a comment there in the chat. I agree with turning off the devices, but it's, it becomes such a habit. You go, I'd actually challenge you to do this just once in a while. go out for drinks, and you tell everyone put their phones in the middle and see who reaches for it first. You will, like, people actually cannot not have their phones within their within reach. They have to check the email, they have to check the Insta. I was quite fortunate. I went for nearly 2 years without a cell phone, so I used to be able to go out, or it was 18 months, whatever it was, and I was able to go out and I was able to just watch people, and they quite literally cannot stop picking up their phone and WhatsApping and looking on Instagram or social media. It's like it's a habit and a drug, and I think you'll be very surprised about it. I'd really challenge you, go out there and have a look and see how difficult it is for people not to touch their phones when they are out and about. Anybody else got any other comments?
Yeah, Mark, I want to actually flip that around. As a non-smoker, we are sometimes very like we judge smokers quite harshly very quickly, but in that challenge, exactly, it's the same thing. It's like you're addicted. You need something to do with your hands. Like, so next time you judge a smoker as a non-smoker, just think of yourself like being addicted to your phone and what you're doing to it in conversations. You don't even have the decency to walk away and do it elsewhere. Something else, I've been fortunate to visit the doctor quite a few times in the past 2 weeks. But the first thing when I entered her office every time is like, she would ask me, how much sleep do you get? Like, are you getting enough sleep? And they did a study a few years ago that 6 hours, I think, was enough. They've redone that study that they're actually going back to the initial 8 hours that's needed, because they've seen like an incline in diseases like Alzheimer's and heart attacks and stuff like that. So yeah, just think about that when you don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Sam says this tongue in cheek that she would lose at the cell phone game. But I mean, kind of a lesson to you guys that are going, you're kicking off your careers. I've seen it a couple of times where people go into meetings with clients who are spending a lot of money with us, and they can't help but reach for their phones to start. And you have to be aware of the behavior, because it's guys, when you go into a meeting, the purpose is to actually be engaged, and it's very noticeable from kind of where there's a generation gap. You'll be talking to a director of a company or some kind of a senior person in a company, and I can see out of the corner of my eye people reaching for their phones to WhatsApp, or trying to do it under the table, not very subtly. So guys, like, just be aware of that when you go into meetings. I know it's early stages for some of you in your careers, but that is something to be aware of. And then there was just a comment that was, a couple of comments from Matty in the chat. The issue is not switching off a device as much as having a leisure activity of my choice. And it's interesting because, I think Anay and I had this discussion right at the start of the year as well. I think she's taken up, she's always done quite a lot of hiking, but she is doing cycling and that kind of thing. It is, you suddenly realize, like, life passes you by and you've got no hobbies and habits to get involved with. So I think that's a really important thing comment to make, is healthy lifestyles are balanced when you start talking to other, when you start actually having external activities to participate in. I think Paula reiterates that. When you ask for the time, the younger generation always look at their phone for the time. Comment from Jess. Yeah, absolutely. I think watches have very much disappeared, unless they are things, unless they often like the Fitbit and the health related watches. Anybody else got any comments? Awesome. I think that has been a good session then. Thank you, everybody. Just remember, there are going to be status meetings today for the team, so just make sure you are up to date on what you should be working on. From my side, thank you, everybody, and we will chat then during today. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Bye.